be sure to go to flipsidegaming.com and use promo code 6 for 10% off on orders over $10. Do the same with the Grizzly Gentleman for 10% off at checkout. Both of them are fantastic deals, and they help support the show. What is up, Planeswalkers? Theurk 6 with another Sonic milkshake. Shut up, it's fine. Theurk 6 back for more Magic the Gathering Arena. Today we're playing a combination deck called Sporeweb Terror, and in an effort to make this even cooler, we can do something like this. And what? Someone did this before and they separated it out. Spell? Nope, nope. Alright, well, I'm dumb, it's fine, everything's fine. So, this deck has a combo in it just like yesterday's Veto deck. So Veto's deck was essentially a general, Orzhov mid-range deck that used life gain and life loss to slowly drain the opponent and happened to have a combo element. This deck is meant to be a Naya mid-range deck that once again happens to have a combo in it. The combo, I'll go ahead and start with, begins with Terror of the Peaks. So Terror of the Peaks, 5-mana, 5/4 flyer, spells your opponents cast that target this, it costs life. Cool. This is an annoying creature for your opponents to target. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Terror of the Peaks, deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target. So Terror of the Peaks, for what it's worth, is the one dealing the damage. If you have something like Sporeweb Weaver, a 3-mana 1/4 that has reach and hexproof from blue, which is fantastic, whenever it is dealt damage, you gain 1 life and create a 1/1 green sapling creature. Now, for what it's worth, if you have Terror of the Peaks out, and then you cast Sporeweb Weaver, you can keep hitting your Sporeweb Weaver until your Weaver dies, and you have 4 1/1s, right? That's something that you can do. Instead of having one spider, you can get many smaller non-spiders. But if you have a way to give your Sporeweb Weaver indestructibility, then you'll be able to have an quote-unquote infinite number of life and saplings, not spiders. And we have 2 ways to do that in this deck. Well, technically 3, but we have Selfless Savior, the good boy, the goodest of boys, who is just a good old-fashioned 1-mana 1/1, and we can go ahead and give another target creature indestructible until end of turn. So, we have this out. We play a Terror of the Peaks. We play one of these, holding priority or whatever you need to do. You go ahead and sack this, make this indestructible, and then bada bing, bada boom, you keep dealing Sporeweb Weaver 1 damage because your sapling tokens are going to keep entering the battlefield, triggering your Terror of the Peaks, which will hit the Sporeweb Weaver, causing more and more saplings to come out. Another way you can do this is via using Heroic Intervention. So this one is a 2-mana instant that gives all permanents you control hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. So not only will this protect your creatures that you're trying to do the combo for, but it will also protect your enchantments and or planeswalkers from any other shenanigans that your opponents might be trying to use. Bronzehide Lion technically is a way for us to give indestructibility to our Sporeweb Weaver as well. So, on the front side, it's a good old-fashioned 2-mana 3/3, good old Watch Wolf stats, but also you can pay to make it indestructible until end of turn. And then if it dies, return to the battlefield, enchanting, let's say, yes. And then you can once again pay to have this become indestructible. This is less reliable because that means you need this and this on the field. This needs to die while this doesn't die, and then you put it on this. So it's a little less reliable. That's why I said technically we only like these. Okay, so that's the combo. Make this indestructible. You get Terror of the Peaks at some point to hit this, and you keep going. What about the rest of the deck? Well, since we're a creature deck, I threw in Pelt Collector. Pelt Collector is possibly not the right 1-drop here. I don't love the idea of using Gilded Goose, but I absolutely could be wrong here. I felt that the deck might need a little bit of early power to soften my opponents up. Whether or not I made the correct decision, who knows? I just want to showcase the deck in general. You craft it to fit your own needs. Pelt Collector, it grows stronger with each dude that we play. Speaking of cool dudes, spelled with 2 O's, by the way. Whenever I say dude, always spelled with 2 O's. We have Destiny Spinner. 2-mana 2/3. Creature enchantment spells you control can't be countered. Fantastic when you're playing a combo deck based upon creatures. Obviously, this does mean that they can counter your heroic interventions, but it means that they can't counter your Selfless Squires if you want to, or Selfless Saviors, if you want to go ahead and protect your Weavers. So just having the ability to just be real belligerent about it. Like, hey, mono blue or blue X decks. Nah, you don't get to counter my things. So you can still bounce them, and I'll be sad, but you can't counter them. We have a little bit of support in this deck. We have 2 Domris, very similar to what Rhythm and then Destiny Weaver do. It just makes it so that we can plus and give our creature spells uncounterability for the turn. It buffs our creatures in general, which makes it so we can kill our opponents quicker with like our saplings or whatnot. And then of course it allows us to fight things. To get some damage started, woo! Excuse me. Rhythm of the Wild, obviously, creature spells can't be countered. And then of course our non-creature tokens we get have Riot. It just means that we can attack with things a little faster. Speaking of attacking with things faster, we have Samut. Samut just gives all of our creatures haste, which means that we don't have to wait an entire turn rotation for us to kill our opponent with our good old-fashioned sapling tokens. Also, we can go ahead and like make one of our things bigger and scry, which is great in a deck like this. 2 Shifting Ceratops. Sometimes you just hate blue and you want to hit them in the face with a giant freaking dinosaur. That's about it. I'll go ahead and talk about some of the sideboard options in after the games. I played one game against Yorion Blue-White, and for what it's worth, I do think they might have missed. I think they missed a single land drop, and well, they blew up my board once, and then I played a Shifting Ceratops, and they died. So yeah, that was fun. Unfortunately, we got a second verse, same as the first, which is just annoying. Because for what it's worth, I'm not sure this deck is actually that great against this style of deck. But one thing I do know is I can probably take some damage here in the early turns. I also keep forgetting to bring my ugly face back. By the way, I don't think I'm actually ugly. I think I'm fine. I'm what I like to call just barely above average in terms of the face. Everything else, garbage. My gross noodly arms. My disheveled... I mean, like, even my beard is meh. I got a freaking birth defect, man. What the heck? This is a version of Yorion I've not seen before. Double scry at the bottom is nice, I suppose. Well, we have kind of 2 pieces of our combo. I guess technically 3 if you count this. We just need the Sporeweb Weaver. Oh, and lands! Lands would be great. Agonizing Remorse. I assume Terror's gone? Not really a point in getting rid of my Samuts. I'm going to play lots and lots of Samuts. It's gotta be Terror, right? Huh, Ceratops, okay. I mean, sure, yeah. My opponent shouldn't attack here. They're thinking about it. Alright. Alright, well, we play this, do one of those, and do one of these. Go ahead and do one of these.
Surrender now, and I'll spare you.
Go ahead and do one of these. And we're going to go ahead and pass. Gonna go ahead and eat a little bit more of my delicious blizzard. Mmm. Mm-hmm. It's so good. Sonic, sponsor me. It's it's cookies and cream milkshake with banana. Huh. Now that's interesting. No blocks, I'm good.
Is that all?
What's that? This?
My blades will always strike.
Yeah, so either they sack this and I get to sack Samut next turn, or they sack this, I lose Samut, and I really don't care. I have 2 more Samuts in my hand, baby! Elspeth conquers death. I hate you. At least it's a different version of Yorion. Psych! Now we cast this first. And the next turn we dome them.
You are not worthy.
By the way, I currently don't have any Discord questions, so if you want to ask me questions, now's a good time. Oh, Elfbeth, cool.
Death itself cannot. Heroes,
Oh gosh.
rally to me.
I will never bow to you.
I will never bow.
Press the attack.
I think I just want something to be able to hit them. Because they're going to 2. Samut's dying, but I can have another Samut.
We can rebuild the walls of serenity.
What do you say? Oh, I forgot they just gained 5. God damn it.
Follow me to the realm of the living.
I have witnessed enough destruction already. If you still have a home, you should go there now. My tolerance for cruelty died in the trials.
I'm just trying to go into maximum overdrive. Why won't you die? For what it's worth, even if I lose this game, I'm kind of satisfied with the fact that this isn't your typical Yorion deck, so. Plus it's Abzan. I have to give, like, a pass to Abzan. Bum, 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 bum. Glasket. Glasket, casket.
Believe in yourself as
Okay,
I
that does not kill me. I assume you're going to kill Samut. And you're going to cast a Yorion, Blink the Charming Prince,
Hazaret, forgive me.
and Elspeth. You're going to gain 3 with the Charming Prince. Go back to 7. I do technically have another Samut in the deck. 1, 2... I do have enough green to give my Ceratops both trample and haste. They decide to do that instead. Samut, baby!
Initiate. You we strike.
Get fucked
now.
and die. Hi. Get fucked. Oh. Shh, I didn't say that. I wasn't swearing. For what it's worth, I'm going to probably title this video combo in some way. But you should recognize that this isn't your average combo deck. Like I said earlier, that's why. There we go. Should be like this. Like I said earlier, this is much more similar to Veto in that it's not a combo deck per se. This hand is bad. But I'm going to keep it because I'm very greedy. Pelt Collector should be Gilded Goose, shouldn't it? guess maybe... No, that was a mistake. I should have Fabled Passage for planes so that this turn I would be able to play Pelt Collector and Savior. And next turn I would be able to play Bronzehide Lion. So yeah, I do think this was a mistake. We're going against Simic Temur, of course. Who would have thought Slim Shady would be something that you would have bought, would have made you get a gun and shoot at the cop? I just said it. I know if we do it or not. And we smork. And we hope to draw a land. I'd like a red land. But just a land would be fine. Obviously, mad respect to my opponent for playing with this avatar. Mad disrespect for my opponent for playing Temur. Mad disrespect again for having no card backs. Disrespect again for using one of the ugliest pets in the game. You know what? I'll take this. Will I take this? Do they play Storm's Wrath? I don't know. I don't care. If I get blown out with Storm's Wrath, whatevs. I'm smorking in. I'm giving the deck all she's got, Captain! Do you have another land? You do. Are you going to play Wilderness Reclamation? Is the metagame already solved? Who am I kidding? The meta was solved on day one. Okay. Get toasted, Yun. Look, we take all of those. We take every single one of those. Let's get a third game in, shall we? It's Terror of the Peaks. It's another Yorion deck! What happened to the companion nerf, wizards? Is Abzan Yorion, like, the thing now? I mean, they take intervention, that says to me that they have board wipe. Although I guess intervention might just be the strongest card in this hand. They're thinking long and hard. Aye. They take the spinner. Okay. I mean, next turn I feel like I'm going to play 2 Pelt Collectors. No, it's Esper. Cool.
I'm known for
Catch my Pelt. Well,
timing.
would have thought.
Here we go.
I'm playing 3 Pelt Collectors. If my opponent untaps and plays a board wipe, I'll just concede. Like, I don't care. I'm at gold. I don't care about my rank. What? I'm gonna miss out on some bad cosmetics in a couple packs. No. The end of year. What? Oh.
Don't worry.
Oh.
I got this.
Oh. You're gonna wait till my turn? You shouldn't. I have heroic intervention. I'll pay life, I don't care. Let's cast the dog, shall we? Come on, coward, do it! Do it! Did they mean to do that? Was that a misclick, or...?
I really should have seen that coming.
I would be lying if I said I weren't confused. I realized I probably should have just let that happen. And probably boned. Solemn. Let me call my friends bigger, please. I lose one. They get to draw. Yada, yada, yada. $63. It feels like they have too many. Ooh, baby. This is what I like to call 9 damage. If they spend the turn casting Yorion here, I think I just heroic intervention. I have 3 mana open. They have a counterspell. Oh, go up to 5. This doesn't technically help me.
If you still have a home, you should go there now.
I'm pretty sure I'm boned. So whoever I'm 3 or more counters. Damn, so it's not based on damn it, it's not based on power. Whoever I buff is gonna get blocked by the 0/4. Because my Bronzehide Lions have extra abilities, I think I'm gonna do this, get rid of that.
Too much to allow you victory. I have witnessed enough destruction already.
No, I can't run anymore. They're gonna gain 2 next turn. I attack in, I don't affect their board at all. That is a yeet. Curses. I don't know. So, what do I think about modifications and or additions? So, one of the some of the other cards that individuals discussed when I was walking through this deck on stream, when I was first like streaming and stuff, was the Assure. Oh gosh. Assure symbol, because Assure allows your creature to gain indestructible. What this can potentially do is kick you out of white. So, obviously getting Blackblade is another way to give indestructible. It pushes you further into white, but technically, if you have Assure and Heroic Intervention, then you can kick out the Selfless Squire and the Bronzehide Lion and become more of a traditional aggressive Gruul deck that happens to run Assure. For what it's worth, the double green does mean that you're gonna try not to be. You're gonna be mostly green, if you do make this Gruul, and probably not have many other, if any other, double red pips except for Terror of the Peaks. Perforos is another way to give haste. It's 5 mana though. It's a meme. So yeah, none of these cards technically are sideboard cards. These are just if you wanted to lean into white more, play Gideon. If you wanted to lean into just the Gruul to get rid of these, then you would go with Assure. So as I said, I'm not certain about, let's see, creature, 1-drop. I'm not certain about the value that Pelt Collector necessarily gives this deck if it is Naya. If it's Gruul, then you're going to have more room for actual Chunguses, and so Pelt Collector will be better. But as is, I don't think it gives the oomph that I wanted it to in the deck. Ailsid is something that you can play. It doesn't work great with Sporeweb Weaver. It doesn't work with the combo because this just gives protection. So you either can't target it or it's still going to die. It is nice though that you can give protection from removal, as well as not only just for your creatures but also your Rhythm of the Wild or something like that. I guess I'll go ahead and yeet this into the sideboard. There weren't really other things. Technically, like Gilded Goose is something that you can use. If you want to go more all in on the combo, then I do suggest Gilded Goose, because Goose is going to allow you to accelerate into your Sporeweb Weavers and Terror of the Peaks faster. Yeah, but there just really isn't anything in the 1-drop slot that kind of does what I wanted to in the deck of we're going to hit those annoying control players really early and really hard. So I'm not entirely sure. Now, obviously, there are potential sideboard inclusions here. Now, there's always the what do you do against aggro? What do you do against control? What do you do against mid-range and other nonsense? So, generally speaking, against aggro, there's a lot of good options for just gaining life in white right now. And these can be, I mean, you know, Charming Prince is helpful in general if you stick to the kind of the Naya theme, because this is not only something that can gain you 3 health and then block, but it's also something that you can use to scry to, or, I don't know, reset a Sporeweb Weaver, for example. So, you know, this is an option for life gain. There is Revitalize. So Revitalize, generally speaking, would be okay in this deck if you're planning to go all in on the combo. So very similar to Gilded Goose and potentially Ailsid. If you're looking to just go all in on the combo, then what you're going to want are card draw spells, and then spells that allow you to get up to the cards that you need. So not just Revitalize, not just the things that are going to gain you life. Even something like Breath of Melodus would be potentially helpful. But you would also want something that can allow the deck to be able to deal with aggression in different ways and have a little bit of reach in case your main game plan doesn't work. So you're going to want some red damage spells. Lightning Strike currently not in the game. Shock is you could definitely make an argument for having Shock in place of something like Pelt Collector. I do think that the deck wants to as is stay a little bit away from having too much green as kind of the main selling point here. What would I even have? Fire Prophecy is real strong if you're once again looking to make the deck super combo oriented. It puts a little bit too much red in my opinion in the early game, so I don't know if it's necessarily something that you're going to be looking into. The deck as is doesn't like Storm's Wrath. So I'm just trying to think of other ways of dealing with pesky creatures. I guess if you're sticking to the Naya theme, then what you can do is you can have something that is really versatile that I just like. Of course, I have to go all in with Knight of Autumn. I think Knight of Autumn is one of those cards where if you're in the colors, it just does kind of all the things you need it to do. Man, like I look at Knight of Autumn and I'm always like, oh, this should just be a main deck card in any deck that can play it. Because it can be swole for you to hit your control opponents. It can gain you some sweet life against your aggro opponents. And then, of course, it blows up the nonsense artifacts or enchantments from the more memey decks that you're going against, like Shrines or... Look, I still don't know the metagame. I don't like Standard. Gosh, I can't think... No, I mean, there's always the easy one. Here, if you're playing green and you're like, oh, what do I use to deal with graveyard decks? Scavenging Ooze. Scavenging Ooze. Consider like how good you think Scavenging Ooze is. Add several points to that. That's how good Scavenging Ooze is. So Ooze is another one of those things that I think are reasonable to use. So we kind of, I mean, more Ceratops in the sideboard I think would be good. You could maybe argue for 6-mana Chandra, but even then, I think that might be a little bit too much of a stretch. This is against control. I'm just never on the beatdown, you know? I'm just a mid-range dude trying to play mid-range games. In a standard filled with the most annoying ramp flash garbage as possible. Let's see. I mean, speaking of ramp, like, I don't think there's anything you can do. Wizards, so... it's Rants with Theorix. Wizards, in my opinion, has done a horrible job. This is kind of like all I can think of. Generally speaking, if you're making a sideboard for any deck, you want the main things: aggro, random nonsense. So like that's things like graveyard, artifact, enchantment stuff, random nonsense, and then control. You want those main pillars. Wizards has done a horrible job, in my honest opinion, when it comes to providing checks for ramp. Many other avenues for gameplay okay, the music went away. Oh, there we go. Sure. I just wanted the music to change. Many avenues for gameplay have checks and balances. There are cards that can't be countered. There are cards like Teferi that say, you can't do things at instant speed. There are creature kill spells. There are planeswalker kill spells. There are, counter spells. There are discard spells, etc., etc. There are ways around the main avenues of gameplay. And there are ways around those. So, you know, with discard spells, you can give yourself hexproof. You can have creatures like Nullhide Ferox that like to be discarded into play. You know, so there's counters and counters of different mechanics. But the one thing that Wizards has appeared to shy completely away from is a counter to ramp. And this is both in terms of searching for lands, the number of lands that are in play, and then even the mana creatures. Obviously, like, we have Shock, and currently one of the mana creatures is Goose. But right now, another one of those mana creatures is Arboreal Grazer, and it just puts a land into play. it just puts a land into play. It's disappointing for me that ramp and lands are seen as so very untouchable right now. Because when you go into a situation, right, before now, this isn't something I would necessarily be advocating for, but when you give ramp the power boost that other strategies have been given, you know, in some standards, you know, casting spells at instant speed, that's the big deal. In some other standards, just battle cruiser magic, I play a big creature, you play a big creature, I kill that creature and play another big creature, etc., etc. You know, those have these ebbs and flows, these back and forth. And they have answers to them. But when ramp gets the same type of treatment and power that these other strategies get, it's different. Because ramp doesn't have counters. Now, you could say, hit them for hit, you know, kill them with super aggressive decks. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, obviously, a super aggressive deck can kill a greedier deck. A greedier deck is going to be able to potentially deal a big blow to, you know, not as greedy decks that are trying to be kind of in the mid there, etc., etc. You know, there is this kind of wheel. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about actual individual or a series of card responses and answers and proactive solutions to the proposed problem that your opponent is giving you. So, as I said, when ramp gets to have the same treatment that these other strategies do, it becomes a problem, not because the ramp is necessarily too strong, right? In my opinion, Arboreal Grazer, Gilded Goose, what the heck is that card called? Growth Spiral, none of these cards are broken. Even Uro, I don't necessarily think in a vacuum is too good. But I think for what it's worth, Uro is like, if it's not too good, it's at least on the cusp. But in my opinion, one of the reasons that all of these cards are too strong right now is because there aren't really good ways of stopping it. There aren't cards in Standard right now that say your opponent can't, search their library. Obviously, you might get the hints of Mr. Death and Taxes here. Yeah, I mean, sure. But, you know, we get those cards so few and far between. But I feel like they should be a bit more of a staple. In Amonkhet, we had Aven Mindcensor, but the ramp wasn't bad then. Right? If anything, we need Aven Mindcensor in Standard right now. And even then, that's not where a lot of this ramp is coming from. Because Wizards doesn't like as much cards that are searching your library. So a lot of the ramp is just playing additional cards from your hands. Or playing cards from the top of the library. Or playing multiple lands a turn. And when those are paired with a bunch of the cards that just draw you a bunch of cards, Cough Cough, Hydro Crisis, and its ilk, then it becomes really difficult to deal with, because now all the lands are in play. There's nothing you can do about it anymore. And that brings us to land destruction. And many people, rightly so, dislike land destruction because it fundamentally doesn't allow you to play the game. You know, you don't have the mana to cast your spells, you can't play the game. But if your opponent has, 8-9 mana, when you have 3, and like you've not missed a land drop, right? Like, you've not missed a land drop, your opponent has literally double or triple the amount of mana you have, and as many cards in hand as you, then I think that's a problem. One of the solutions that I think should be back, and this would also help white not to be garbage, is a balanced like effect. You just destroy number of lands equal to the difference. It sounds harsh, but it's a punishment before the super ramp strategies. It is a completely dead card if you and your opponent have the same number of lands. Obviously, it has to be costed properly so that you can use it in the right moments. Having something cost like 2 mana probably isn't great, because then, if your opponent goes first, you literally, it's their third turn. They just played their third land. It goes to you. It's your third turn. Before you play your land, you pay 2, destroy one of their lands, you play a land. Now it's as if you've gone first, and you technically are up a card. You're technically at equal, but whatever. So, it can't be a 2 mana. 3 mana? Is it too good then? Is it not good enough then? Right. So I think having something like that is helpful. Having more cards in the game that restrict the lands in some way. You have some sort of enchantment or something. Hello, Darylyn. You're going to be in a video. You have some sort of enchantment similar to Spreading Seas, where you essentially just choose, all right, you get this color of mana instead. Maybe you don't turn it into an island or whatever, because that might have issues, but you literally just enchant a land. It now produces green mana, or not green, terrible option. It produces white mana, and you're playing a Sultai deck or a Temur deck or something. I get to cantrip, I draw a card. Sure, you still have the mana. You just don't have the ability to play the same colors or whatever. Or, you enchant, you have an enchantment that's not an aura. You just have an enchantment that says, like, whenever a player taps a land, people lose life. And, we've had things like mana barbs that cost too much. 5 mana is not good for that effect, because it comes down way too late to actually be significant. Right? We want something that actually has a response to the strength of the ramp that's in play right now. Right. We've seen recently, and I shouldn't necessarily even say ramp. It's just in general mana cheating effects. Wilderness Reclamation, ramp in general, and Fires of Invention. These are all things that cheat on mana, and they're very strong. Some of them have banned. Some of them have been banned. Others, cough Nissa, cough Wilderness Reclamation, are dominating the format. So it seems to me that the mana disparities, that avenue of Magic gameplay needs to have checks that it currently does not. And even though things like land denial or taxing effects that force your opponent not to be able to play additional lands every turn, if a land would enter your opponent's if a land would enter the battlefield and it wasn't the first land that entered the battlefield this turn or something, word it better, exile that land instead, right? Or that land comes intact, right? Just force cards, primarily in white, because that's kind of White's wheelhouse. I'm not going to lie. These are things I would enjoy. Have more tax effects that tax specifically mana when it's appropriate to do so. Obviously, what I'm not advocating for is resource denial such that I get to then be on the opposite situation where I'm the one with 7 lands and you have nothing, right? That's not what I want. I want the evenness. I want to lose that disparity, right? So obviously, I'm not a designer. I'm not a developer. I don't know how to properly do these things, but I do think that Wizards needs to, and the player base in general, needs to be more accepting of resource denial in terms of mana. Research denial, at least so far as, you might have a little more than me, but not the amount of difference that we see right now. Anyway, that's been 6 rants, I guess. I'd like to thank my lovely patrons for their continued support. If you'd like to join them and support the show, you find links to that down in the description, with a bunch of other cool stuff, because I have the best description in the game. Hope you've enjoyed this. If you did, go and tap that like button, add subscription to your mana pool, cast a comment in the comment section down below, pass the turn, and the vid to some of your friends. And of course, until next time, all be one.